Bellybean asked, where can you buy clay for animation in bulk? So I brought up this page, and so if you guys are in America at least, I think the majority of you guys are, into art.com. So IN, the number two, and then art.com is where I go. Like if I'm gonna buy a bunch of clay, this is where I go. So they've got 1 pound and 5 pound bars. Let me see here. Actually, it's 4.5 pounds. And now the colors don't coincide with the pictures on their site, so you gotta actually read it. So like this is magenta, this one's gray, this one's brown, this one's white, this one's yellow. Some of them actually do. Like this one's black. That's correct. And that one's red. So I don't know. I think there's a problem with their webpage where the colors are kind of screwed up. But you can buy tons of clay here, and it's actually fairly cheap. This is one of the cheaper places you can actually buy it. Now, if you're in the UK or something like that, I'm not really sure like where you would buy bulk Nuplast, for example. I'm not really sure, but this is where I get mine. And let me see here. So they've got like these little small packs too, but I mean, if you're gonna buy in bulk, you probably don't want these. These are just quarter, or let me think here. So these would be like 1 pound blocks complete. So they'd be like a quarter pound of green, magenta, blue, purple, or violet. So probably not as good, but yeah, you can buy tons of it right there. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Bellybean. All right, so let's move a little bit forward here. So on the web page, I do want to talk about a couple of things. And of course, we could probably do this for feedback week, but Zakira didn't post it in there for feedback week. So it's short. So she posted an animation of her Fortnite character dancing. And so I'm going to play this real quick. So she's got her intro. And so here's the character. And I'm pretty sure they call this dance the floss. So she's trying to, I'm going to go back and we're going to play that again here. Let's go back here. Ooh. Now she said she wasn't happy with it, so I tried to give her a little advice on maybe how to make it better. So it's short. Let's see here. Let me go back again. But you can see the basic pose that she's going for. So like the arms are up, and then the arms come down, and they kind of stop a little bit short of the full floss dance. But so I did try to post a video showing everybody the dance. Let me see if I can bring that up first. Okay, so this here is just a loop dance of all the characters in Fortnite doing that dance, and you can see a front and back. You can see how the arms kind of go like backwards and forwards and front to back. So like the right arm goes behind and then in front, and then it reverses with the arms. So what I noticed with hers is that if you just look at how fast it's going, if you go like 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, so it's like 2 or 3 sways per second. Now I don't have a way to break this down, unfortunately. This is a crazy looking character, isn't it? But anyways, so the arms move really fast, and so I tried to explain how you guys can figure out the number of moves per second. Oh, my wife is calling, but I can't answer now. So what I do is usually you can go like this. So if you say in your mind 1001, right? 1001. So that's 1 second. So when you say 1, that's a quarter second. 1000, that's half second. 1000, 3/4, and 1001 is a full second. So if you want to time something like this, and my son's gonna give me the phone, I think. All right. Yes. Yeah, I'm doing a live show. Can you just tell mommy, okay? I'll call her back later. All right.
Oh, alright.
Thanks, AJ. All right. So, so if you say something in your mind while you're watching a motion like this, you say 1001, 1002, 1004, 1005, 1010, go as high as you want, but you only need to say 1001, right? So you say 1001, 1001, 1001, 1001. So it's almost like a full swing, per quarter second. So if you know your frame rate is 24 frames per second, what would that be? It would be like 8 frames. So 8, 16. No, it wouldn't be. 4, 8, 12, 16. So you got to figure it out, right? And so how do you do the math? Right? So Ron is saying, I do 24 frames per second, but ads always want me to shoot 15 frames per second. Randy says I shoot in 30 frames per second using doubles. Yeah, see, so it can get confusing. So if you shoot it, let's say, 8 frames per second, which would be really kind of herky-jerky compared to 24 frames per second. Yeah, you could say, but you don't want to say 1003, you don't want to say 1000. It's always going to be 1001 because you want to make sure that, like, if you get to, like, 13, so you say 1013, 1014. So you don't want to add extra syllables in there. So you always want to say 1001, 1001, 1001, like that, if that makes sense. Really? You shoot at 23 frames per second. Wow. Okay, so if we were going to divide that 23 by 4, right? So you say, Alexa, what is 23 divided by 4? Oh, is Alexa not working? Alexa, hello.
Hi there.
All right, you didn't answer my question. So, Alexa, what is 23 divided by 4? I think that's too hard of a question for her. Yeah, because you would have like a decimal point in there. All right, so Alexa, what is 24 divided by 4?
24 divided by 4
6.
equals 6.
Right? All right. Well, at least you got that right. So I don't really know how you would do the decimal points. So if you're shooting 23 frames per second, you probably want to round it up to an even number, right? Because then you would have an even number of 6, 12, 18, 24, right? And I shoot at 24 frames per second. So it's just easier if you have an even number of frames to divide it up. So if you want a half a second, it's 12 frames if you're shooting at 24 frames. But if you shoot at, obviously if you're shooting at 10 frames per second, half of a second would be 5 frames. So you want to break it down. Like, I don't really know what Zykeria is. How many frames per second is the question? So it looks like it's a pretty low number. Let me see here. So, like, if she's shooting on an odd number, doing the math is just more difficult. But I want to say, like, maybe she's shooting. Let me see again here. So I don't know. I'm gonna say like 12 frames per second for her, right? So she would have to do like a full motion every 3 frames if you divide it by 4, because we did 1001, 1001, and it would be like, let me see. So yeah, so Ron Cole says, I never speak to Alexa. Speaking to machines will bring on the robot armies that will wipe out humans. I use Alexa for math mostly. And Bloody Bean says, I haven't found it to be an issue, Ron. I'm using Premiere. Oh, sorry. Bloody Bean says it looks to be 12. I think so too. It's somewhere around 12 frames per second. So that, I think if you're actually shooting at that low a frame rate, if you're going to do a full arm swing in 3 moves, you would have to add some like extra arms to make the number of, so like if it's just 3, the arm would be in this first position, then the middle, then the end. That would be one full move. So it would be very quick and jerky that way. So you'd have to add maybe like a motion blur in there. So you could either add more arms, right, in between the first, second, and third motion, or the first, second, and third frame. So the first frame being here, and the last, second would be in the middle, last in the back. So you'd have to fill in those blanks so it wouldn't look jerky. So you can do that, or you can just up your frame rate. Yeah, the arms. Yeah, they don't really. I mean, let me look at the actual animation here. So, yeah, I think in Fortnite the arms are a little bit noodly. They kind of bend a bit, don't they? So the wrist kind of comes out. But see, if you're shooting at a really slow frame rate, adding those little minute details would be difficult. Even easing out would be kind of difficult. And Mr. Gold, you don't have to keep sending me money. It's a nice gesture, but you don't really have to. So anyways, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight on timing. So, always remember 1001. 1 is 1/4 second. 1000 is half. 1000 3/4, and 1001 is a full second. So that should hopefully give you guys, like I say, something to work with when you're trying to do timing, because it's very difficult to visually look at something and break down the number of frames a motion would have, but doing it with an auditory cue is always helpful. All right, so let me get rid of this and this. And we could also mention, of course, Ron Cole did post in the silicone molding and casting group. One of the things that he found is that certain platinum silicones are not compatible with each other. And that's really great to know, because if you're like patching, for example, what he was doing is patching a puppet with, I think, what was it first? I think he used Platsil Gel 10 as the main component, and then passed it with Dragon Skin. But it doesn't actually matter if you were to make a puppet out of either one of those. What he's saying is that if you have a seam line around your cast that you cast your puppet in, cleaning that seam up and then patching it with another type of platinum silicone sometimes doesn't work. And he said that he tried to do it and it didn't cure, which is, to me, really, it sounds like it wouldn't be true, because you think silicone has the same constituent parts pretty much, right? It has oil and it has platinum, and you would think that the curing of it would have the same chemical part as well for both silicones, but evidently they don't. So that's something to keep in mind. So I was thinking, if you're going to make a puppet and you want to test out 2 different silicones, definitely do a test first, right? You don't want to just make up a large batch and then patch the entire puppet and see if it works. You want to test it somewhere else before you make a mess. That's pretty much the lesson that Ron was giving us. Oh, and Evie made mention on Zakira's video that the hips didn't move very much. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe maybe the armature inside her puppet was restricting her as well. Like, I don't know the whole story. She didn't reply to my post. Hopefully I wasn't being too, hopefully I wasn't being negative or anything. And so Belly Bean said the digital one had doubling the arms. Yeah. Yep. So Belly Bean says silicone to silicone bonding takes extreme cleaning and roughing it. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I could think of, like if I were to make a silicone puppet and maybe I set it on a table that had, for example, clay that had sulfur-based clay or something on it, and then it touched the sulfur-based clay, and then I picked the puppet up, and I'm not thinking, maybe the back of the puppet is dirty, or something like that. Maybe I should take acetone and clean it. Yeah, that's like some of the things I would think of, like if that happened to me. But so Ron says, I was really surprised they seemed identical to me, but no, there's no crossover. And I tried mixing them because I needed more of one of them, so I thought adding the other brand would work. Yeah, that's so weird. So if you're trying to mix the two, different silicones together, you would think that, the same thing if you're, gonna use platinum silicone. So Bellarmine says a lot of manufacturers also add secondary agents that create bonding issues. Had this happen a lot in SFX work. Yeah, I wonder what those agents are, because that would definitely be, one of the things that, unless you're a chemist, and they don't really like list the actual chemical components in the silicone on the MSDS or anything. They just sort of say, well, it has, it doesn't cause cancer, and use a respiratory mask if it's got vapors. Use, I know that sometimes latex gloves will mess up your silicone and cause curing problems. If you use they say like use vinyl gloves, right? Sometimes, but I don't know. I guess every brand has something different in there, don't they? And Ron says silicone to silicone gluing is done with painting on a primer called Loctite 770, and then you can use super glue to bond them. See, if you're using the same silicone, you can usually just cast silicone right on top of silicone, unless you're using like a mold release. So, like what is this stuff I'm using? Rebound 25, I think it's called, from Smooth On. I use for mold making, and you can do layers of it, one on top of the other, and it sticks to itself just fine. But if you're gonna spray something with mold release, you'd have to make sure that mold release is completely off of there before you try to adhere silicone to silicone. And there's naphtha, there's acetone, there's lighter fluid. Excuse me. There's a few ways to do it. I mean, I'm not really sure like what the least toxic one would be. I'm thinking it might be acetone. I think naphtha is a little bit more toxic, but no matter what you use, you pretty much want to use that in a well-ventilated area anyway, if you can, just to be safe. All right, so last thing for the webpage is, so we've got our feedback week, and so next week, so it's every other week. Next week we're going to talk about whatever is posted in our forums in the feedback week area. So last time we had a feedback week, it was the first one, and I missed Hoserlu's submission. So we are going to talk about this next week. A really awesome little submission that looks actually, it looks like a Robot Chicken episode. So it's well lit, nice looking set, and animation and everything. So it should be fun. Now the thing about feedback week, and I don't know if I've mentioned this. I did mention it, I believe, here in the feedback week section here. But you can post links. You can also post questions. So like when I started the show today, I asked at the start, what do you guys want to talk about? And Billy Bean had a question. But you can also post questions as well in feedback week. I gotta let my cat out. Hold on a sec. So many distractions tonight. Sorry about that. Just getting into a lot of trouble there, as usual. So Bellybean is saying you can use white vinegar to clean up your silicone. Really? I didn't realize that. Okay. So Ron is saying that silicone to silicone bonding will only bond within a week or so. There's some silicones out there that they tend to what's the word, like sweat oil, like the old stuff that I think it's GL or GI 1000 or whatever it was from back in the early days. I think Berman Industries still sells it. It's like that light blue silicone, and if you let it sit on a shelf for too long, it just kind of like leaches out the oils, silicone oils. It's not very stable. But the newer stuff that they've got out there from like Smooth On works really good. It doesn't seem to leak oil or leach anything or smell or get sticky. It's really nice. So I'm pretty sure that modern silicones, I mean, it just works really well with bonding to itself. But I've never tried to bond silicone to silicone after more than like a day, honestly speaking. Off-gassing, yeah. Well, I don't know if it's really off-gassing because it's not a gas. It's a liquid, you know. But yeah, it's still pretty good. I mean, you can use it for really anything. Well, besides making puppets, though, it's not really good for that. It is a little bit thick, or firm, I should say. So, anyways, guys, so I just did want to make mention. If you do have questions to ask, you know, feel free to post them in the feedback week section for next week, and we'll answer them during the show. All right, close this. Yeah, I recently learned about this product. I'll just quickly bring it up. The stuff called Thyvex, which thickens your silicone. So if you want to make it turn into a gel, if you're gonna paint it onto a surface, it'll help it stick. And I was using Cabasil powder, and then I switched to microballoons to thicken my silicone, and I found that microballoons is horrible. It works, but it's not very good. It's still drippy, and Cabasil works pretty good, actually. I really like it, and I think Ron Cole made mention of it being somewhat toxic. But I found out that Cabasil is what they call non-amorphous, which means that it doesn't have sharp edges to it on a molecular level. So technically speaking, it won't cut up your cells if you breathe it in. It's still not good to breathe in. You want to use a mask and all, but it's actually fairly safe. It's made through a process, like a vapor type process, and there's no sharp edges. It's kind of a weird thing, but anyway. So Cabasil works really good for thickening silicone if you guys are ever interested. But I'm gonna try the new chemical stuff, just because I don't have to wear a respirator or anything like that. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna work on this my project. This is the Bad Apples project we worked on a couple of weeks back, and I'm just going to clean things up for my character. And this is all gonna be. I'm gonna add some shadows as well. I had to add shadows to everything. Let's see here. What diameter? Maybe 11. That's a pretty good diameter. Okay. So I'm going to start cleaning this stuff up. Same schedule it's been forever, Bellybean. And Ron says GI 1000 is still set though, and Leica used a variation of GI 1000 for puppet parts in Coraline. You can sand the seams off of that, but you can't with any other kind of silicone. Yeah, I think it's got like a filler material in there which works to you could sand, which is weird. It's almost like you would think it would have to be something hard and crispy, to like a plastic to do that. I know Webster Colcord. He had this puppet from Nightmare Before Christmas. It was the little miniature witch. Actually, it wasn't really a puppet. It was a casting of the puppet with GI 1000. I recall, and I thought, you know, Nightmare Before Christmas would have benefited a lot if they had cast stuff in silicone. And let's bring this one up. Ooh, there's a big blurry spot on the left there. What happened? Is it? I gotta fix that. Especially like Jack Skellington himself, that would have been a good puppet for silicone, I think, because he's so thin. But I believe they use foam latex for Jack. Not super happy with this headscarf part of this puppet here. It's like my sculpting wasn't very smooth. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have smoothed that up better, but it is what it is. I don't want to be too perfectionistic. Yeah. I hear you there, Ron. It thickens everything, pretty much. This is, I think, better here. Let me know. I'm gonna do this. There we go. Now the headscarf conforms to her head a little bit better. That's nicer. Okay. Okay, Belly Bean. Catch you later. Have a good night. Oops. Where am I here? There we go. And Ron Cole says GI 1000 is blue. I think they made a clear catalyst just for Leica. The fast cast catalyst is also clear, but that makes the rubber more brittle. Yeah, I bet they went through a lot of that on that production. I mean, I know that when I went to Giant Peach Productions in California when I visited, they just had tons of GI 1000. Like that was their main. Oh, you know what? You know what? This might not work out here. No, it will work. Okay. Awesome. Never mind. Never mind. I thought I had the wrong head on screen here, and I don't. So I need to have this one for this head. Head scarf. Alright, never mind. Back to erasing here. Serenity says the wrinkles on her headscarf seem natural. No additional smoothing was necessary. Well, thanks. Yeah, I guess it's not too bad. So I'm going to add, like I say, a drop shadow to all of these so that at least the shadow will... And I could, I remember what you told me about copying and pasting the layer, what do you call it? Layer blending. Let me see, what is it called? Layer style. So I'll be copying and pasting the layer styles into all of these when I'm done, which will make these all look like they're kind of all part of one body and not separate, very sharp-edged pieces, which they are. So I'm gonna try to fake that. Make it look like it's really on a table of some sort. And let's see if we transform this a little bit. So that fits better, and I think that's pretty good. Alright, I'm gonna leave it that way. Like I say, I don't want to be too perfectionistic with everything because it's very easy to fall into the trap of nitpicking every little thing, and then you never get your film done. So, which that's happened to me on my last film. Tried to make everything perfect, and it just took how many years? Too many years to do that one. Get rid of this green line here. That helps a lot. So if I had photographed this in a better way, if I had maybe had a very large down shooting rig, because the table I used, the Clay on Glass table I used to shoot all these stills, I had the green screen too close to the characters and the light splashed over onto them, and that's why I have to do all this additional work. So, live and learn. Next time I need to change the way I do things there. But, either way, this will be pretty good when it's done, I'm hoping. And, oh, hey Hoser Lou, what's going on? We were talking about you a little while ago. Now, so let me see. Let's check out the next layer and see if there's anything to clean up. Yep, there's some green on this one as well. Get rid of this so I can see. Voila. Hopefully these clicks don't annoy you guys, because I have a lot more clicks to do, so. If I got a penny per mouse click, man, I would be a millionaire. Okay. And also, you know, I'm not, like I said, I don't want to be too nitpicky, but there's a few of these stray pixels on this one. So I'm gonna, as you can see, like this one here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean these up just a bit. Just kind of get rid of these things. And this one down here. There we go. And then the next one. Get eraser tool. The clicking, yes. Some people have this like a, it's not a, like a phobia, but it's a thing that you get annoyed by hearing certain sounds. What's it called? Synesthesia or something like that? Where you hear something and it just drives you crazy. You're like, oh, I can't take it anymore. No more clicking. Yeah, I had this one thing where I used to, when I would work more in the garage sculpting in there, we had this thing where we have a kitchen above the garage, and every time somebody washes dishes, you hear this kind of waterfall where the pipes go through the garage. And that sound used to drive me crazy. I'd be like, ooh, I'm trying to concentrate on my sculptures. Who's washing dishes? So I don't know if I technically have that or not, that disorder, but I do get annoyed by the sound of running water. That's the one weird thing about me. That's my confession for today. Clickophobia, yeah. I mean, there's 7 billion people on the planet. I'm pretty sure there's got to be at least like one person that's just goes totally crazy. Can you imagine that? Imagine you have that disorder and then you have to get a job and your job is to work, you know, as a I don't know, just working on computers all day. You would drive yourself crazy. It's like we need you to click on 500 of these items today and in your 8-hour shift. No. So Ron says, I have a dead pixel in my camera that appears on every frame. I have an app that fixes it. You know, I've got something on, I don't know if it's on my CCD or on my, inside the lens of my telephoto. And it's like almost like a blurry spot, like a dark gray blurry spot. It's not just a pixel. So I'm thinking it's either something on the CCD or it's like a, oh, did I wonder if I cleaned all these up. Let me get rid of this face. So something on the CCD or something on the lens that's causing that. I'm not really sure which it is. And so it only shows up like if I'm taking a photograph of something that's light in color. So I've got all these head casts that I do in a white resin plastic, and I'll take pictures and I'll always notice it. But if it's a dark scene, it doesn't show up as really anything. You can't even notice it. I guess it's just like having floaties in your eyeballs, you know, like you never notice them until the light goes in there a certain way. Sounds like a lens defect to you, Ron. It was a cheap lens. I got it used on eBay, and it's not the clearest of glass. You know, it's somebody used it quite often. I could tell, and I forget I forget the specs on it, like, you know, how many millimeters, but it works great. For stop motion, I really recommend to anybody to get a telephoto, because that's, if you're going to spend a lot of money on lenses and stuff, you could spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on pretty much, you know, how many lenses do they make? I mean, they've got almost one per millimeter, you know, every millimeter is like one more step. But there's like the, you know, 50 millimeters, oops, 100 millimeters, 200 millimeters. But if you have a telephoto, you just get it all in one and you just zoom in on stuff. But the problem is that there's so much glass in them that you have to do longer exposures, which sometimes is bad. So if you want to do a really fast exposure and get a really clear image, sometimes telephotos aren't the greatest. But just as a general overall general purpose kind of lens for animating and regular photography, it's great. And I particularly like telephotos because you don't have to have the camera so close to your puppet. Now with this particular project here, I shot everything on a rig with the camera through a hole on a piece of wood suspended over layers of glass. And having a telephoto even in that kind of configuration works really well. Like if you don't shoot it this, or you know, do it with the way I'm doing it here, which is to take pictures and, you know, use these photos. Oh, her lower chin is so blurry here. I don't know what happened. If you're not doing it this way, and you're shooting it, you know, straight ahead on your down rig or whatever, telephotos work really good because you can zoom in on places on your rig. So having that ability is really good. There we go. Okay, I think I got everything here. Let me look real quick. So this does have a little bit of green, which I can get rid of here. Maybe just get this edge here, and I think the majority of my layers are cleaned up. Well, I can clean that up as well. And Ron says, long exposures are no problem for me. I use them most of the time. I like animating in low light. Yeah. Long exposures are great. Have you ever tried taking a laser pen, Ron, and moving it around during a long exposure? If you get like a purple laser and you have any sort of like neon colors, you know, like poster board or something like that behind your character, you can move your laser around and you can get this sort of lightning bolt effect. It's really cool. I did some tests with one of my puppets, and yeah, he had like a. So it was my skeleton from Teddy Bear's Mistake, and he didn't have eyeballs, but I did have like a little ledge on the inside of his skeleton orbital sockets, I guess. A little black ledge with these dots that I painted in there with neon green paint. And I did a long exposure of his face, and I used this purple laser over his eyeballs. And so his eyeballs were glowing super bright. I think my exposure was something like 8 or 12 seconds long. It was a really neat effect. And so Mr. Gold, you're saying that ball and socket armatures are hard to make, so I like wire. Yeah, and wire works great too. There's nothing wrong with wire. A lot of people are thinking that wire armatures break instantly or something like that, but they actually don't. Okay, so now what I need to do is come up with a layer style. Oh, look at this. This face has green under it, which I didn't notice until I put that body under there. Let me erase that green before I do this. I wonder if they're all like that. I should probably have like a neutral background color behind everything, like gray here. So let me do this. Let's go gray. Fill. There we are. How's that look? That's better. I think I just missed that one. I must have just missed it because I'm pretty sure all these are cleaned up nicely. Yeah. That's not too bad. Drive your cats crazy with the laser pointer. Let's see here. That's good. That's good. That's good, and that's not too bad. Oh, look at that. So I must have missed this. There's like a stray chunk of clay up to the side there. Just gonna erase that. Oops. It looks so much better with gray behind it. Oh, another thing here. Another stray piece of clay. Erase that. And this one, I think there's a little bit too much green on the left, so I'll get rid of this. And Ken says, I use twisted 18 gauge wire for ankles. Obviously depends on the size of the puppet. Mine are generally 6 inches tall. Alright, time for our layer style here. Let's put on, let's do this and this. Alright, I'm going to do it on this one. So let's go blending options. And drop shadow. Select drop shadow. Angle, I'm going to put it straight down. Distance, about there. And opacity, this. The side's a bit bigger to feather it out. And okay. So, copy layer style. Paste. Paste. This is one of those things that, you know, I owe Randy a lot for this little trick. Because how much time would it take me to do this one layer at a time? And so Randy says, the way I was taught to make wire armatures hold up, clay character is just fine in any position. No extra supports needed. Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Some designs you really can't support your character. Like, I know even on the Domino's Pizzanoid, he had these little things behind him, you know, behind his back to hold him up. But the trick that they used was that they would, you know, have the body of the puppet angled in front of the camera, where the wire and stuff that holds up their body was behind them, their little rigs and stuff. At Wolverton Productions, they used to use all kinds of things. Like even Mike McKinney told me that he used to use toothpicks in certain situations to hold up his puppets, which sounds really precarious, and I wouldn't really want to do it that way, like, you know, today, but that's what people used to do. Alright, so let's see here. This, did I paste that layer style on here? I think I did, yeah. Okay. So now these all have very simple shadows underneath all of them. Now for the heads, should I? Let me see something here. So for these heads, I might want to add a different layer style, in fact. Because I'm thinking that should be a little bit darker. So drop shadow. Something more like that. That looks a lot better to me. Alright, let's do that for the faces. See what the difference looks like when I paste it in here. And does that look alright? Yep, I would say so. Yep, it has to be darker. Yeah. Yep, definitely much better. Much better. Do that just for the heads. Okay, I think that's all of them. For the arms, let me see what these arms look like. Not sure if I want to have drop shadow. Well, I guess if they go in front of the body, that would work best. Alright. I don't know, I gotta really think this through. So we only have like 9 minutes left. I think next week what I'm gonna do is I am gonna revisit this. I'm gonna save it first. So with this character, this is one of the main characters in the film, right? So I know that there was something I needed to do with these, and I can't remember right now what it was. So we've got the. Let me turn this off. We've got all the bodies. We have the heads. We have the head scarves. I don't remember now what it was. Maybe it was just adding the shadows. The arms. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I know what it was. I gotta add the eyelids and stuff on all these. Eyelids. Because how can the character blink? And I'm thinking for her, I might want to make some eyelids that have like eyelashes and stuff on them. And maybe give her some makeup on her eyelids as well. Like maybe make her eyelids like a purple color. So, purple with lashes. So that would be interesting to try and do with all of these. I think I'll probably just have like one set of, you know, that I could move over the eyes for each frame. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do. That might take a while. So I might end up next week. What I'll do before the show is I'll sculpt them and I'll take pictures and then I'll import them and then we can see what we're gonna do. All right. So, anyways, let's see now. Let me go back here and see what you guys are talking about. So Ron says, I animate silicone puppets, and when you have a creature with triple jointed legs and a massive upper body, the ankles can't support the weight in a running pose. Yeah, there would be a lot of leverage, so that would be difficult. Ron says, I animated a Minotaur that was very muscular for a film, and it had to be on a flying rig in every shot because the ankles were too small to hold it up. And Randy says, Mark, I believe you can select all the layers and paste the style. Ah, okay. Can I? Let me click on Shift. Oh, yeah. You're right about that. Could I? Yep, you could. Randy, you know all the shortcuts in Photoshop. That's awesome. Getting kind of excited, Mr. Gold. Definitely. And Ron says that Minotaur is in my special effects stop motion reel here on YouTube. And it's in a film called Legend of the Golden Fish Cake. So Ken says, I'll have to check it out. Is the whole film on YouTube? You can buy that, can't you, somewhere? And Ken says, I'm excited for Christmas. He's having family come over. And yeah, a Christmas special is a tall order. Gonna measure up to the classics. Yeah, have you guys seen all the controversy over all the old classic Rankin and Bass films? I guess people are getting so politically correct these days that they're even judging the old classic films and saying they're, you know, sexist and racist and all that stuff. It's like, just let it be, you know. And then Ron says, I'm not sure if the film is available online anywhere yet. It was only recently completed and released to film festivals. Yeah. And Randy says you can also just click the first one, then hold shift and click the last one and it will select all in between. Yeah. Will it really? Oh yeah. Wow, I didn't realize that. So it works the same way when you're like working in Windows when you're selecting folders and things. I didn't realize you could do that with Photoshop. That's awesome. Check it out. So it would have taken me like literally 3 clicks to do that. But still, either way, it's still much faster than the way I used to do it, which is, each one, blending options, write down the numbers. Okay, it's 15, 13, 0, 63. Okay, that's how I used to do it. Man, I was doing it really the hard way. All right, well, anyways, guys, that does wrap up our show for today. I think, like I say, I'll have to sculpt some eyelids and do that next week. But we've been making some pretty good progress, and I guess we've got how many more characters to go? It's probably kid, king, mother. So we got 3 out of 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, 7 or 8. So we still have a ways to go, but we're getting there. And anyways, thanks, Mr. Gold, for the tips. I appreciate it. And I do appreciate you guys stopping by every week. And we'll be here next week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock Central, same time, same place. See you guys all next week.